So this effect is great as a transition and an effect. If you are doing a photo shoot, if you're filming a photo shoot and you want to add some spice to it, you can add some of these transitions and effects. Or if you are shooting a music video, you could use this in so many different ways. So with that said, here I have a clip of me pointing the camera up at the camera and pretending to take a photo. And then this next clip is this model who is in front of the camera, kind of just doing some poses, which is great for this effect. So let's start off by just picking a spot where she is looking at the camera, maybe a cool pose. Let's start with something like that. So I'm going to trim this clip. I'm going to hold down Option on my keyboard and drag this up to duplicate it. And I'm going to come up here to where it says clip and select freeze frame. Then I'm just going to quickly cut that clip. And then I am going to move this so this freeze frame slides into the actual video. Then I'm going to move the playhead forward to another spot where I think she poses really nicely, which is right there. But then this time I'm going to right click where the playhead is, select retime controls, then click on this drop down arrow, create a speed point, and I'm going to drag this up and speed ramp that like so. Then I'm going to right click on the clip and select retime curve, click on the drop down arrow and select retime speed. And I'm going to click on this little dot that it created and round it out so it's nice and smooth to the point where she strikes her next pose. And you can adjust this like so. Then right at the speed ramp, I'm going to, again, duplicate this clip by holding Alt on my keyboard and dragging this up. Come up to clip and select freeze frame. Trim that clip so the freeze frame is exactly where the playhead is. And then you can trim this clip and make it as long as you want. And again, if you want to, you can cut the clip underneath, drag it forward, and now we have something that looks like this. And then you can continue to do this throughout however long your clip is. Then I'm going to drag the still frames down into our main video channel. So this first method is really easy to create a camera flash. So what we'll want to do is come up to the effects library, select video transitions. Then what you'll want to do is come to where it says dip to color dissolve. Let's go ahead and drag that on top of our first transition between our first shot of me holding the camera and the still frame. Then what you'll want to do is zoom in, select that transition, come up to the inspector, and select the color here. And by default, it's black, but let's go ahead and drag that up to white. Then what you want to do is select that transition and copy it. So hold down Command and press C and add it to every time there is a still frame. So there, and then boom, there. Great. Now that's a really basic, easy way to do it. But now let's go ahead and make it look a little bit more realistic. So then what we'll want to do is come up to the effects library, select Open Effects, select Effects, and drag an adjustment clip down on top of our first transition where we go from me shooting with the camera to the model posing. Let's go ahead and trim that clip. I'm going to trim this clip down just a little bit. Then what we want to do with our playhead over our adjustment clip is come down to the color tab. Now with our first node here, let's just crank up the contrast. Now, if you crank it up pretty far, you start to get some really weird looking artifacts. And so one way to counter that is if you come back to our edit tab, we can come up to the effects library and select Open Effects. Go ahead and drop down any of these blurs on top of our adjustment clip. Then it smooths things out and it doesn't look so harsh. Then the next thing you want to do is see these little tabs at the top left and right of the adjustment clip. If you drag that in, that will actually fade the effect in and out. So let's go ahead and do something that looks like that. Then what you can do is just hold down Option on our keyboard and click and drag and duplicate that adjustment clip over every single time we have a transition. Now you want to make sure that the dip to color transitions are really short because a flash is very quick. If you want to, you can adjust the adjustment clip just like that. So this is the effect that it looks like. And you can just duplicate that over our transitions for each time there is a still frame. Next, what you want to do is select the still frames and come up to the inspector and select dynamic zoom. Go ahead and turn that on and then select swap. You'll get a pretty intense zoom at first, depending on how long and how short the clip is. So if you want to adjust the dynamic zoom, come over here to the left-hand side on that drop-down menu, select dynamic zoom. What you can do is click and drag this red box to adjust how much it zooms into. So by the end of the clip, this is where the dynamic zoom will end up. Go ahead and do that on all your still frames. Then also what I like to do is come up here to the effects library, select video transitions, and where it goes from the still frame into the video, I like to add a smooth cut transition, make it as small as possible, copy that transition and add it to every time a still frame goes back into the video. Next, what you want to do is come to the clip of when you pick up the camera, select the inspector. Let's click on the video tab. And what we'll want to do is go a few frames into the clip. And when I bring the camera up, I'm going to keyframe the zoom. And then I'm going to drag all the way to the point where it transitions into the next still frame. And I'm going to turn this up quite a bit. Then I'm going to click on the curves adjustment here. I'm going to click on the keyframe that we created. And I'm going to click on the round button. And I'm going to drag this up like so. And then I'm going to click on the final keyframe that we created, round that out as well. Push and play with this to try to get a really quick curve at the end. Let's go ahead and turn off our curves adjustment. Then let's go ahead and come back up here to the effects library. Select effects. Go ahead and drag an adjustment clip on our timeline. Go ahead and trim that down to the length of our clip that we have below. Then click on Open Effects and drag on Zoom Blur. Come up here to the inspector, select Effects, and what we're going to do is turn down the zoom amount to 0. So there's no effect. Then we're going to come to the point when it zooms in quite a bit, very quickly here at the end. Then come up here to where the keyframe is for the zoom amount. Go ahead and select that, and then drag to the end of the clip where it's transitioning into the still frame. And let's go ahead and turn this up to about 0.5. Then what we can do is select the effects library, camera shake under the open effects. Let's go ahead and drag that on top of our adjustment clip. Turn off the effects library, click inspector, and let's go ahead and double click on camera shake and turn down the motion scale all the way and the speed scale all the way. Then scroll down to the bottom here where it says border type. Instead of black, select replicate. Reflect also works just as well. Also, what you want to do is turn down zoom to crop. Then right when it starts to zoom in, right here at the end, what I like to do is keyframe the motion scale and speed scale of the camera shake just to kind of add this a bit of sauce to this transition. So let's go ahead and keyframe both of those. And what I'm going to do is when I get to the end here, I'm going to turn up the motion scale quite a bit, but only turn up the speed scale to about 0.078. So now we have something that looks like this. Then what you want to do is come to each still frame, select color, and then you can add your own LUT or your own grade of choice for each of these. What I like to do to make it look a little hipster is select the first curves adjustment and turn up the low soft. Maybe even desaturate it a little bit and turn up the high soft all the way. Then you kind of get like this vintage look. But then once you've added your specific grade for that clip, what you can do is come to each of the still frames and copy that grade over. So I'm going to select the still frame that I want to copy the grade to, right click on the graded clip and select apply grade. And last but not least, what you want to do is add in some sound effects. If you guys want the sound effect of the Sony a7S III shutter, the link will be down in the description. You can get it there. Then what you'll want to do is simply just cut it up and put it for every time there's a photo being taken. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please hit like and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. And also check out this huge playlist of amazing visual effects and transitions that I've created. Thanks again, and I will see you guys in my next video.